In today's video, you will learn how to edit your videos in iMovie. If you are a beginner, this is perfect for you. I walk you step by step through the process of editing videos, editing out your ums and ahs and any mistakes, adding in B-roll, exporting from iMovie at the proper size for YouTube. So if you're a new YouTuber and you're wondering how the heck do I edit my videos to make them look more professional, this video is for you. Hey guys, Alexa Saarenoja here. Welcome to my channel where I help young at heart new YouTubers grow a YouTube channel. So what does young at heart mean? That means anyone in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond to grow on YouTube. We can do it. Let's get to it. I'm going to jump into my computer now and show you how to import your footage from your phone or your camera into iMovie and then start the process from there. So now we are in my computer and we're looking at iMovie. When you open it up, you usually see a screen like this, Media or Projects tab. So in the Projects tab is where you're going to start a new media. If you don't know where to find iMovie, you can simply hit F4 on your keyboard and it will show all the apps you have, or the most used apps you have. So iMovie would be this one right here with the purple star. Another way to find that is to go to your Finder tab and then go down to Applications. And then once you're in Applications, just simply look for iMovie or type in iMovie up here, iMovie, and it will bring it up. And there it is. And you can double click on that to open it. So once iMovie is open, you're going to do a create new, and it's going to ask you if you want to do a movie or a trailer. You want to do a movie, and just click on that. This is where you will be working. Don't let this intimidate you. It's very simple for what we're going to do. I'm just going to give you the basics to get you to be able to produce videos that look professional quickly. This area is where you're going to import all your media for your clips or for your video, such as B-roll, A-roll, everything is going to go into here, and that is the My Media tab. Since this is a new project, there is no media imported right now. Next to that is Audio and Video tab. This is where you might have some music. This is the titles tag. If you've watched some of my videos in the past, you may have seen that I like to use some text coming across the screen to emphasize things or to clarify websites. Like if I say, I go to pexels.com for my images, I will put pexels.com in this text and it will go across my face on the screen. So this is where the titles and those types of things are. And you can choose what part of the screen they show up on and the animation that is happening. Then there's also backgrounds. You can have a background like a globe or something like that. I don't use backgrounds. And then there is transitions. I do use these quite often, especially at the beginning of the video. After the hook of the video and my introduction, in between those two things, I usually put a slide left, slide right, or cube transition to transition between those two clips of footage. You're going to want to go to My Media and you're going to want to import your video that you recorded on your phone or on your camera. And then you'll go and you'll want to find where it is. So wherever you have your saved file, you'll want to go in there, click on that file, and then go to import selected. So that's how you do it. Okay, so I made a Gen X video where I'm talking about the comparisons between Gen X and Gen Y. So I'm going to open that up. And here are all the takes that I did of this one video. So I did quite a few takes on this. And I actually, the first time through, I was just reading the script. And then the second time through, I was making it more my own style. So I was practicing a few times. So this is where all your media is, like you drop in your clips here. And when you have them in here, you can click on them and then you can hit play and see what they're about. These generations. What is the defining years that... So this is a clip I'm going to use. One thing I need to do, I don't know if you'll need to do this with your iMovie. I have a MacBook Air. It's half a decade old or older. And so with this version of iMovie, I have to get around a glitch that is in the system. And the glitch is I can't export 1080 videos without putting a 1080 clip at the beginning of my videos. So for example, if I import this video, let's say I've edited it and everything's the way I want it, and I go to export, export file, the option for 1080, which is what I want to export for YouTube, it is grayed out and I can't choose it. So I have to do a workaround where let's delete this by hitting backspace. I have to drag in this 1080 clip first, then I put my footage second, and then I can go up to the options and hit export file. And 1080 is there now, so I could export it with 1080. I actually can go ahead now and delete this and then export, say this is my edited film, and the 1080 option is still there. It's some weird glitch. It may not apply to you, but I want to show it just in case it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag in this 1080 clip that I have. And then I'm going to drag in my first clip. Whenever I edit my videos, the first pass through is always just getting rid of any ums or ahs or dead space or mistakes or something like that. The tools to do that, well, first you need to drag in your media. So you can simply select it up here and drag it into the timeline. The timeline here is where you're going to be editing everything in your film. You're going to be adding B-roll into here. You're going to be splitting your footage here. To view this, you can view it larger or smaller. And the reason why large is good is so that you can actually see the waveform of you speaking. So if you want to cut out ums or ahs, easily just select both sides of that and delete that little piece. So that's why it's good to view it big. If you view it smaller, then you can see all the edits you've done, and you can kind of see all of the footage in one spot, and maybe you want to select everything and delete larger chunks of things or something like that. That's when looking at it in a smaller format might be useful. But for editing purposes, I like to keep it somewhere in the middle here. And then if I need to get into the nitty gritty, then I really go to the largest setting that they have. So as you can see with this video, the first part, there is no waveform. So there's no speaking here. So automatically I could just go right here and hit Command B. Command B is a shortcut for clipping your footage. So now the footage has been split in two, and then I can select it and hit backspace on my keyboard or delete. So that will get rid of that empty space. And now I'll be starting at the beginning where I start to talk about what I'm going to be talking about in this video, the hook. Now I noticed that there's this blank space here, so I might be repeating myself. I might be doing the hook a few times in the beginning, but let's just walk through what I would do. So I would watch this over. Today we're diving into a generational showdown between Gen X and Gen Y. So if you've ever wondered which generation you actually fall into, and you're between the ages of... Okay, so there I had to go reference my notes to find the generation. But so I think this is a good part. Today we're diving into a generational showdown between Gen X and Gen Y. And I'm actually going to clip it there because there is a breath there, but it's not so important. You don't have to leave every breath. But I think I might have recorded this again. So I'm going to see if I recorded it again. 28 and 59 in 2024. Okay, so that actually is accurate. So I'm going to cut this by Command B to split the clip. And then here I'm going to watch this. Gen Y. So if you've ever wondered which generation you actually... So which, I think we say... Which generation you... Which generation? So I want to delete that j. So I'm going to do this and this around this part where I'm speaking j. And then if I go here, now let's see if it works better. Wondered which generation you actually fall into, and you're between the ages of... I'm going to clip that and cut out this middle zone by hitting backspace and selecting it. So now we can watch from the beginning and see if it's more clean. Down between Gen X and Gen Y. So if you've ever wondered which generation you actually fall into, and you're between the ages of 28 and 59 in 2024. Hey there, Alexis. So here's a good place for a transition. I could talk about this when I add in B-roll, but I don't mind adding in my transitions as I work right now, because I know from experience that I'm always going to have a transition between the hook of the video and my introduction to my channel. So I like to use, if you're in my media, you go over to the transitions tab. And I like to use like slide left or cube. So I'm going to go ahead and slide left. And so now we can see, and you just simply click and drag it into the timeline, and then you can see how it works. Then that question will be answered in this video. Hey there, Alexis Saarenoja, welcome to my channel. So there is that transition. And that's basically what I do is I go through and I just delete like all these places where there's empty space, or like here, this is usually like a, or click, like a click in my mouth or something like that. Like that. I do that a lot, so I can just delete that and start the word at this point. Where you see this yellow peak, it's a little bit loud compared to the rest of the audio, so you can, what you can do to get rid of that, if it's just like a or a interjection or something like that, you could just simply delete it, or what you can do is you can do Command B around that particular peak and then hover over this till you see the triangles up and down, and you can simply just turn it down slightly so that it kind of is in line with the rest of the peaks, and then it won't have that such intensity in your face of like someone screaming at you for 1 second and then going back to normal voice. So that's something you can do with that as well. And another way you can do that too, let's say you selected that, if you're like trying to drag it but you can't get the amount you want, you can go up here to the sound, and you can actually automatically do it if you select the section of the clip that you want to adjust, and you can scroll here if that's easier for you, and you can see it going down and up over there. It allows you to have a little bit more control over that. Command Z will undo anything that you've done previously. So that's what basically you'll be doing. Spacebar is what I'm pressing to start and stop the video. You can also just simply go up here and hit play and pause, clicking on this, but I like spacebar. The main keyboard shortcuts that I use when I'm editing is Command B, which splits the footage or cuts it in half, and then you can delete by selecting on the footage you don't want and hitting backspace or delete on your keyboard. And then the other thing I use a lot is the spacebar, which is starting and stopping your footage. So I'm not going to walk through this whole video and take out these blank spaces, but that's what you would do, is you would go through and edit out any of your mistakes and your blank spaces, and then that would be the first pass that I would do through the video. The next pass then would be to add in the B-roll. So once I edit this, I will see you on the other side where we start to add in the B-roll. And to let you know, I don't always, but I sometimes plan the B-roll in advance. So if I have a script, like for this video, I have a script because it's very statistics-based and data-driven and knowledge that I don't have in my brain to speak to you easily. So I have a script, and in the script, I highlight what will be the B-roll. So here I'll say time period slide, where here we're talking about Gen X is born between 65 and 1980. I'm gonna have a slide or some sort of footage that comes up that shows those 2 years to kind of emphasize those years in the person's mind. And then this is talking about how Gen X witnessed the end of the Cold War and the rise of personal computing. So I'm going to have a clip of maybe the Berlin Wall falling or the Cold War on news on the Cold War or something like that, something that really emphasizes that generation. So that would be my B-roll footage. So I can go ahead, now that I know all of these B-rolls that I want to do, I can go ahead and gather those ahead of time, put them in a folder, and then import them into my iMovie and have all the B-roll ready for me. Or I can just go through my video as I'm working and then create that B-roll and research it then. So there's 2 ways of working. I do think that it's better to just do it all in advance, then you have it where you want it. You can just plop it into your video as you're editing it. But sometimes you don't always have that luxury to do it ahead of time, and maybe your ideas change, or you cut out parts of the video that so you don't need some of those B-rolls. In that case, it's maybe easier to grab stuff and create it as you go. Either way, we're gonna be adding in B-roll in the next step. So now I have this footage that is all edited out. Now I'm going to go in and add in my B-roll. For this video, I haven't pre-packaged my B-roll in a folder, and I'm not going to drag and drop it in because I want to walk you through the process of actually getting the videos or getting the pictures or whatever you want to add in and making them so that you can see that process as well. I think that will help you rather than just me dragging and dropping. You'll learn a lot more this way. I'm just going to find what I want to add in first. So this is the beginning saying, which generation are you? And then this is saying, welcome to my page, like Saarenoja. I want to add in another transition here after this. Throw on YouTube. First up. So we go to transitions up here, the transitions tab, and I can grab a slide left and stick that in there. So now we have transitions capping both ends of my intro about myself. So I can show you that. In this video. Hey there, Alexis Saarenoja. Welcome to my channel where I help Gen Xers and beyond grow on YouTube. First up, let's talk time period. What shaped these generations? So now we're talking about, right away, it's like, what defines the generations? What year is the generations? So I'm probably going to put in a slide that describes what year is Gen X and which years are Gen Y. What is the defining years that separates these 2 categories of Gen X and Gen Y? So first I'm going to do maybe a what slide. What are you, or what generation are you? So then I'm going to go into, I like to go to Canva, and in Canva I have slides that I've used for my videos already, but if you want to, you could look up presentations. So if you click on presentations, you can go down here and see a bunch of examples of different types of slides that you could do or use. So like here's a nice one, for example, or you could just type in slides and then you get some slides templates. So here's a bunch of different slides that you could use. Like they're all editable, so you can change the colors to be more of your brand color and that sort of thing. Anything with a crown is pro. So if you use that one, it will have a watermark on it. So I would avoid pro ones, but you could open it up and then delete the elements that have any watermarks, or you could create blank. But I'm going to go back to home and I'm going to find the slides that I have already used for myself. I use these a lot, so I'm actually going to go with this one today. And this is from another video I already did. The first thing was, what are you, Generation X or generation Y. Or maybe I separate this like this to make it a little bit more clear. And then also I can make it centered text. Actually move it down so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to select it all. Or I could just click off and click back on and then do the centered text. Move it to the center, and where the red lines helps me to center things. So I like that. What are you, Gen X or Gen Y? And make sure everything is spelled right, yes. And then I'm going to export this one page. So I'm going to do share. I'm going to actually do a PNG. It's an MP4 right now, but I'm just going to do it PNG. I don't want any animation on it. And I want to make sure that this is a multi-page document. So I'm going to make sure I'm just selecting page 1 by deselecting all the pages and just clicking on the page I want. And then I hit download. Then I go back into Imovie. I want to make sure I'm in my media tab up here. And then I'm going to go to find my files. I could either go to this arrow and import anything in from that by clicking that. But I'm just going to go open my Finder tab, find my downloads, and I'm going to go to slides 4, and I'm just going to drag that in here. And then I can place that in. What shaped these generations? What is the. So I'm going to just drag it into here. So you just left mouse click and drag it in. And I'm going to make sure that it is this size. I don't want it to kind of zoom in and out. You can have that if you think it's more interesting, but I'm going to just keep it normal. So you go up to this crop tool, and I'm going to do fit so that it fits the whole slide in the view. And the only thing I'm going to adjust is I'm going to go up here until I see these little triangles, and I'm going to slide it a little bit, left mouse click and slide it a bit, and that will add a fade in and fade out on that slide. So basically I just dragged my media into here, then from here I dragged it into my timeline, and then I edit it by using the crop tool up here and then making a fade in, fade out. So now if I hit play with my space bar. What is the defining years that separates these two categories of Gen X and Gen Y? Gen X was born with. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull it to make it a little bit longer. You can pull on it when you go hover over it. You can pull and stretch or shrink the length of this B-roll. So here is where I'm going to add the next slide that says 1965 to 1980, I believe. I'll go back up here. So Gen X, 1965 to 1980. I'm going to actually scale this up a little bit. You can scale it up by dragging on the corners, or you can also just highlight everything and go up here and change the font size. So I'm going to do something like that. Gen X is 1965 to 1980. And I'm going to go ahead and share that. Download, PNG. I just want the one page. And I'm not going to do a ton of these. I'm just going to do a couple times so you kind of get the process and see it clearly. Then I'm going to go to Finder. I'm going to drag that slide into my media. And then I'm going to drag that down into here. And again, I'm going to change it to be fit. You can have it, you can burn with zooms. You can also crop to fit. So if you wanted to be more zoomed in, like just on this Gen X plus, you know, like something like that. So when we see it, it's more like. Was born between 19. That, which I could do. 65. But I think if I do that, I would make it a little bit bigger, something like that. And make sure it's centered. And then I'm going to do where I look for those little triangles show up, and I'm going to fade it in a little bit. There we go. So now we can see. Was born between 1965 and 1980. Now it's ending, saying 1980 is ending right here. So I'm actually going to crop this to end at that end of that comment. So to do that, I just set my timeline cursor here, and then I can make sure that the slide is selected and highlighted in yellow, and then I can do Command B, and that will chop it off, and I can then take that off. It chopped off the fade out, so I'm just going to fade it back in again. Was born between 1965 so now it fades in and 1980. Fades out. I added this slide in. The one thing I want to show you is instead of just cropping it, you can actually just move it to the point. So here it stops saying 96 ends right there. So instead of cropping it, I can then just hover over this and wait till those arrows show up and then drag it to that timeline area. That way I don't lose the fade in and fade out, and I don't have to adjust it. Okay, so now I've added in some more B-rolls. There's images and some slides. And then here is an area where I talk about MTV generation. So you can go to pexels.com, for example, or also Pixabay. There's lots of these. And you can just type in the topic that you want to find an image for. So I typed in MTV, and this is the only thing that came up, and maybe this. So I think that I will probably just go with this shirt. And then you simply hit download. You can donate to them if you want to, and then go back into iMovie, take from my Finder the download of that and drag it into my media. Then I find the picture in here in my media, and I can drop it in where I'm talking about MTV. The MTV generation, referring to their connection to rise of music television. So I could leave it like that, having it scan, or I could have it fit, as I mentioned before, you can fit it. Or I could do, since this is a vertical element, I would actually maybe do a split screen. So I could do a split screen with me talking. So to do that, I go over here and I select this. And cutaway is how you see it now, where if I played this, I would see, I can show you. The MTV you can see black on the sides where it's not big enough to fit the screen because it's fitting to the screen. If you do split screen, that's when you're going to see me and this person. And I could crop it so there is no black in between. So I could go back into the crop here and do crop to fit. And then I could stretch it out a little bit so that the majority of this is basically on this person's shirt. And that way you won't see the black from the sides so much. So if we go back over here to split screen, the MTV you see there's no black now. To their connection to rise of music television. So I think I will leave it like that. And the other option is to do picture in picture so that then it becomes a picture on top of the screen, which seems like it's having trouble figuring out. And you can stretch that as big as you want and put it wherever you want. So I'm going to stick with the split screen for this one since it is a vertical element. And then we can see what the timing, we can adjust the timing. The MTV generation, referring to their connection to rise of music television. Slackers. So I'm going to take this all the way to the end of that word. So that word ends right here. You can see that the word ends at the bottom of this slope. So I'm going to drag this by highlighting over it until I see those arrows and just dragging it to click onto that line. Then the next one is slackers. So I'm just going to grab a slide that I created for that, which is latchkey MTV. Here it is, slackers. So I'm just going to drag that in and put it here where I start to talk about slackers. So I'm going to move that to there. I'm actually not even going to have a break. So I'm going to make sure I butt it up right against that. So it's going to go straight from that split screen to that. Slackers. From the stereotype. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to fit this to screen so that it doesn't move. Slackers. From the stereotype of being apathetic or disengaged. And I'm going to end that at the disengaged, so I'm going to drag that to there. The grunge generation linked there. The grunge generation I think would be good to show grunge photo. So I'm going to go back to Pexels and I'm going to grab a grunge photo. Doesn't really describe grunge to me. Maybe this would be kind of grunge, but yeah, I would think it'd be more like bands. So maybe if I do like a band photo, band grunge, not sure it's motorcycles so much I wouldn't say, but maybe something like this would be good. I'm going to put that in there. And I go back to iMovie and I can then drag this from my downloads into here. And you get the process, like you're basically just adding in B-roll. I could also do video. So if I went into here, instead of doing photo, maybe there's some grunge video. So we could go to videos and type in grunge band. Maybe that would work, something like that. And then we can put that in. So now you can see how a video works versus an image. So you just do the same process. You drag the video in. And then you can put it wherever you want. So I can put it here, and then you can see that it will play on top. Music and fashion. Baby Busters, contrasting with something like that. But I actually like the grunge picture better. So I'm going to use that instead. But you get the idea. So this is what B-roll is, just adding in elements on top of your footage. and syncing it with the words. If you want to add, you can add in music too. I could just have a sound clip of grunge music playing or rock and roll or something like that. You get the idea. So this is the second pass. You go and you add in all the B-roll. So one thing I want to show you is, for example, you know, I'm listing off a lot of things here. Like I'm saying the nicknames for Generation Y, and you know, there's a lot of nicknames and they're listed in order. So like, for example, there's a list of all these nicknames, but I go through them one at a time. So as I add them up, the slides are changing. So here's a slide with just 3, then another word, then another word, then another word, right? So to make these slides, I go into Canva and I'm just creating the first slide, then copying, pasting, and making a new slide and adding the new name, making another slide, copying, pasting. And you can copy and paste, make a duplicate by pressing this on Canva page, and that will duplicate the page. And then you can add another piece of text. And then when you're done with all of these, then I can go to share, and then I can go download. But I can then make sure all 8 pages are selected, and I can decide if I want a video, if I have the bandwidth on my computer for that, which this is such an old computer, I don't. So then I'm going to change it to PNG, but then it will download it. I will show you, it will download it as a zip file. And then for that, you can't drag a zip file into your My Media area. So you just need to double click on it to open up the zip file. And then here you will have all the slides, and I can just, once I go into iMovie, go into my Finder, I can just select them all by holding Shift and clicking on the first and the last one. And then I just drag all of those in here at once, and it makes it much easier. And then once they're in here, you want to make sure that you click off of them and then click on, because if you just drag them in, it's going to drag all 8 of them into this timeline, and I don't want all of them. I want them one at a time. And as you can see, I've made these little markers where I know that I need a new slide. So this is the first slide, the first nickname, which is digital natives. So I can just easily drag that in, and then I can go to the next marker, drag the next one in. And to create these markers, you just are going to press M on the keyboard. So just think marker, M, marker. I can show you, just press M, there it is. And if you want to delete it, you just select it and hit backspace. So now I know that I'm saying digital natives here. Generation is digital natives. So I just go up to that slide, I grab it, and I bring it into that spot. But this way, you know, I can just drop in a bunch of things at once, and then in between those, I can add in some extra B-roll, such as videos or images if I want to do that. So I just wanted to show you guys that really quick, how you can work in a longer format and bring in a bunch of files at once. It makes it a little bit faster. Okay, so now I have finished editing everything that I want to edit. And the last step before I export this video is I'm going to add in a notification area that reminds viewers to subscribe to my channel, and then I'm also going to add in an end card. So I'm going to go, this is a 10-minute video, and we're shooting for 50% average view duration, which would be about 5 minutes. So I'm going to put in a reminder to subscribe a little bit before that, probably around the 3 or 4 minute mark. So I'm going to go quickly back and find where the 3-minute mark is, and try and find where I've just given some value and there's a good break in the conversation. So I'm judging by the break here. Same way. For example, I have job talk, and some of you also might feel the same way. I think that might be a good place to add it in. So I'm going to drag in my notification reminder screen to remind people to subscribe to my channel. You can just say in the middle of your video, like, hey, if you're getting value from this video, would you guys smash that subscribe button and also like this video or something like that. I don't ever remember to say that. I should really write it in my script, but I never remember. It's just, it works for me, and that's the way I do it. So I add in a little image animated and with a little bell icon, and then I just turn this bell down a little bit. Another thing, if you ever want to turn the sound down on your audio wave file, you just wait to hover over the line until you see those triangles, and you can move it up and down. I think I talked about that already, actually, now that I think about it. So here we go. Same way. So it's just a quick little reminder to subscribe. Then at the end, I'm going to add an end card. So up here, I'm going to go down to make this smaller, if you remember how you can do that. And I'm going to slide to the end of this, and I'm going to add in my end card. I have a same end card for all of my videos, and I just pop it in here. I made it in Canva in animation. I can add 2 videos in here, one here and one here. So when people get to the end of the video, then they have an option to click on something else that I have available to them. So that's all I'm going to do, and then I'm going to export this clip. So I'm going to just simply go back and delete this, but I want to first make sure that when I export that 1080 that option is showing up for me. It is. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this 1080 clip now. and hit export. And this is all you need to do. You just need to hit export. You don't need to select all your files or anything. You just simply go to export file, then you name it, whatever you want to name it. So I'm going to name this Gen X versus Gen Y, and then I'm going to hit next. And then you tell it where you want to save it. I'm going to hit save mine on an external drive. So I'm going to hit save in my YouTube folder. And then it's going to show a little circle up here. And this is your progress of the exporting. So as that circle fills, it's letting you know that it is rendering out your video. There you go. You can see a little tiny sliver. And when that pie is all the way full of white, then you know it's done, and it will send you a little message that says your export has completed successfully. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful. And if you're a new YouTuber and you haven't really discovered using end cards or adding keywords to your YouTube channel, I definitely recommend checking out one of those videos now here to continue your learning journey, and I will place them right here at the end. Thanks, you guys. Bye.